It is Russ of Aquarimax Pets here, and sorry I just was a little bit late. I was trying to get everything ready. We're checking out this tailless whip scorpion, Damon diadema, right here on the screen. This is the one I've had for about 7 years now, because one of the questions today was about tailless whip scorpions. That was a question from Kevin. So I see Frank the Tank and Javi Strange Pets, Alan John. The thumbnail brought to you here, Alan. Awesome. Ashley Nebel. Let's see, who else is here? Mantis God. And just kind of scrolling through everybody. Don't want to miss anybody. If somebody else has came in, hopefully I caught you all. Joshua Ladino is here. The Bug Hub. Evan G. Excellent. Just finished building your paludarium. Evan, awesome. Well, hello everyone, and welcome. Glad to have you here. So, I see Michael Hare is here as well. And I wanted to start out with some Patreon questions today. Sometimes I don't get to them until kind of late, so I want to make sure I hit those pretty soon. Now, you may have noticed that she is sitting on the substrate, which is not normal, but that's because it's not her normal enclosure. And a lot of times when you put them in a different enclosure, they'll do some strange things. So generally, she likes to hang out on the cork bark in her normal enclosure, which is probably, 3 or 4 times as big as this one. And I just put her in here for now for display because it's a lot easier to see her in here. So this is an enclosure I'll use when I bring her to expos or educational presentations and so on, is one of the enclosures that I have used in the past. So here I'm just pulling up the questions on Patreon so we can hit those, hopefully. Now I see that Wendy Hickson and Jane Marie McBriarty, I hope I'm saying that right, and Liam, Stephen Sager, Dale, Tara, the Juliana, and Supreme Gecko. Welcome. Yeah, it's good to have you in here. So this girl, I'll actually put her on my hand in just a minute so you can see how big she is. Had you afraid, Frank, for what? That she was having some health issues or something like that? Okay. Didn't see that it started. Oh, Heather Jensen's in the house as well. Welcome. And excellent. Okay. So let me get her going here as I talk about the Patreon question. So the first question we got on Patreon was from Kevin Zay, and he says, tailless whip scorpion care is what he wants to hear about. Welcome 503. So I'm going to see if I can kind of coax her either onto my hand or onto the background so you can get a better look at her, because really these creatures live a vertical existence most of the time. So it's better to see them that way. You can get a better idea of how big she is because she's on my hand. So hopefully that helps, Javi, with your questions. Your question about the size. I think it was Javi who asked about the size. Was that it? So, yeah, this one's about 7 years old. When she was a tiny whippling that fit in a 2-ounce deli cup with 2 siblings. So that's how long I've had this girl, and she's grown up. Wally, Supreme Gecko, is asking if I had tried breeding them. I did. I did have 3. I originally purchased 3. I had 2 males and a female, and I sold one to someone else who was looking for a male to get theirs to breed, and successfully bred that one to his female. Got babies that way. The other male, unfortunately, I lost not too long after that. But I did attempt to breed them before that. I got spermatothecae, which are, these fertilize externally. The male produces a little structure, or spermatotheca it's called. The male produces that onto a substrate of some kind, usually the cork bark, vertically. And then the female, he kind of guides her over it and takes it in. It's a little bit like what scorpions do, pretty similar to what scorpions do, I guess. If I understand correctly. I've never bred scorpions, but that's how that works. I did get the male to produce spermatothecae, I think 2, but it never resulted in a viable brood pouch on the female. So something like Pseudoscorpions, they produce a brood pouch on the underside of the abdomen, they carry that around, and then the babies hatch, and like scorpions go onto the back until they've molted once or twice. I don't remember exactly if it's once or twice. So I have never successfully produced babies, but I have raised them from tiny little whipplings. So I'm going to change my angle a little bit because she's kind of crawling away. Let me see if I can get her onto the background just a second so you can see her better, because she's starting to wander a little bit. And if I can get her onto the background, we'll be able to watch her wander, which is a fascinating thing in and of itself. That's a little better there. So how's that? Can everybody see that fairly well? So Heather Jensen, would you ever do an expanding foam background for her carved out? Quite possibly. Right now I've got her on cork bark. This is just a temporary display enclosure because it's really easy to see her on this. But yeah, I might do that sometime. And how old do they get? I've heard they can live to be 15 years old. Good. So she's pretty visible. I'm going to scoot her over a little bit so she's front and center. You can see her nicely, even a little bit better. Maybe I can move the camera slightly. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Sorry. There. Perfect. So how long have I been in the hobby? Northeast Ohio diecast and treasures. I guess it depends on what you mean. But I started keeping invertebrates and breeding invertebrates when I was, let's see. First invertebrate I bred, I was about 10 years old. And that was about 37 years ago. So I guess if you count that, then that's how long I've been in the hobby. Yeah, styrofoam is actually a pretty good surface for them because their claws are sensitive enough, their tarsal claws are sensitive enough that if you put them on too hard of a substrate, their claws can wear off too quickly and then they can't grip it properly, which is very bad for just normal life, but it's also extremely bad for molting. So cork bark and polystyrene seem to be some of the best substrates. I'm sure like expanding foam would also work similarly because it has a similar texture to the polystyrene bead amalgamation like the stuff I'm using here. So Frank the Tank, were you keeping Phrynis marginimmaculatus? That is such a cool species. Communal too. Hobby strange pets, they eat crickets, roaches, moths, that kind of thing. Usually something about the size of their pronotum, which is the structure that corresponds roughly to the head and the thorax of an insect, but it's not anatomically the same, but it's, roughly corresponds to that. And the babies are super cute. Yeah, cryptic and beautiful. Good way to explain it. There's theropod. Okay, so Sean, you're saying my microphone is a little too loud. Let's try that. Is that any better? So Javi bred isopods when you were 9. Awesome. Yeah, let's get those likes up. I see we've got 16 now. Tara started about 2 to 3 years ago. Awesome. Okay, yeah. I'm still learning this new mic. It's a bit tricky to learn how it works. I'm going to scoot that over so you can see her in the center again. Oh, we got 18 likes now. Nice. Coming up. Great. 19. Oh, 23. Yeah, this is a like spike. I love it. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for the liking. So, Javi, that's pretty cool that you've been breeding isopods that long at your age. That's pretty cool. And no problem. You can say styrofoam. I was just saying that because there are people who don't know it as styrofoam. Styrofoam's a popular brand, of course, but some people know it better as polystyrene, and so that's all I did. It doesn't matter. You can call it whatever you want. Styrofoam works fine. And let's see. So Supreme Gecko, I am streaming from my iPad, and the type of mic I'm using is a wireless mic. It's kind of new, and it allows me to walk around the room and not trip over things. So I'm hoping that it's coming in loud and clear. On a scale of 1 to 10, how's my mic right now, everyone? Sean indicated that it was better than before, but I'd like to know this mic in terms of just overall functionality. Is it loud enough? Is it not too loud? Is it clear? Not a whole lot of background noise, hopefully. Just let me know. Red Springtails Theropod Hunter. That's awesome. Okay, Steven Sager, can you talk for a minute about powder oranges for a tropical setup? I think they're a pretty good choice for a tropical setup if there's decent ventilation. They really seem to need some decent ventilation. They can handle bad. They can handle damp substrate if they have decent ventilation. I still feel like they do better if they have a moisture gradient, but they can do well as long as they get decent decent ventilation. And colony and culture. Yes, at least this new mic hasn't broken apart yet. Yeah, because I can't trip over this one. That's what I love about it. And so I'm really, really excited about that. So it looks like the mic quality is pretty good in the 9s and 10s. Okay, Frank, did Tank show us your little critters and the deli cups in the background? Some of them. I could probably do that, yeah. A lot of what you're seeing back there right now is Pseudoscorpions. I've got a couple of Pseudoscorpion setups here. Let me see. I'm going to try to move this lady for now. Oh, you know what? I need to talk about care of her, but let's get to that soon, okay? We'll get to that soon because I want to get to Kevin Zay's question about tailless whip scorpions. So, Kevin Zay asked for tailless whip scorpion care. So let's talk enclosure first. An enclosure, there are different schools of thought on this, but basically mine is in a 12 by 12 by 12 Exoterra vivarium with cork bark on 3 sides. Just cork bark sheets that I got from craft store. And you have to be careful with that because sometimes they can have toxic glues, but these ones were just put together by heat, I believe. The waxy material in the cork bark kind of adheres to itself if you put the chunks together under heat and pressure, and kind of works. So I've got those on 3 sides. I've just got basically cocoa fiber on the bottom to hold some humidity, a small water dish, and I keep it dark in there. There's no light on it or anything, and it's just, it's pretty dark. And then I've got glass on the top of the enclosure, or plastic sheets actually, on top of the enclosure to minimize the ventilation. It's not completely gone, but covered up most of that because they do like some humidity. And then I feed her usually crickets, and she gets a cricket about every week or 2 weeks. She doesn't eat a whole lot. Cricket about the size of her pronotum, as I was mentioning before. And that's about it. They need vertical surfaces like cork bark or polystyrene to hang on, to be able to molt from. They need enough height to be able to molt. And they don't need a lot of obstructions. They like it dark. And that's essentially how I've kept them. I kept them in smaller containers when they were younger. In fact, the container I'm using now to display her was the container I kept 3 of them in when they were younger, until they got to a certain age and they started fighting. You can keep them communally until they get to a certain age, and then you need to separate them. And then you put the males and females together for mating. Some people keep them communally even at that point, but then usually if one molts, the other one will be eaten. At least that can happen a lot. So I hope that kind of gives you an overview, Kevin, on how that works. Other species are a little different, but that is, and a lot of them will do the same basically, but this species is a little different in minor ways from the others in terms of care. Some can be more communal, like Phrynis marginal maculatus can be communal throughout the life cycle. So, and it totally sounds like Taylor Swift Scorpion. It really does. I've seen that before. It's kind of funny. So, Javi, I can't keep tarantulas because my wife has asked me not to. I mean, I guess I could say I choose not to keep tarantulas because my wife has asked me not to. So I respect her wishes in that regard. I think that's very important. I'd rather have a happy wife than have tarantulas, but I would love to have tarantulas if she were okay with it. Someday I'll get my own off-site, either a shed that's not connected to the house or something like that, or maybe in just a different building where I can keep things, and then I will have tarantulas there, and she's okay with that. So now Wendy has asked some great questions here. Wendy Hickson in Patreon. She has a question about care for redback vinegaroon, Thyliphinus species Java, and Mastigoproctus giganteus care. I can't comment on Thyliphinus species Java because I've never kept it, but I have kept Mastigoproctus giganteus, and I would say offer a deep substrate that is stable enough that they can burrow into it. Keep part of it moist and part of it kind of dry, but not so dry that it will collapse. Give them a structure such as a cork bark that they can burrow under as well, and then they will eat things like crickets and so on. Crickets are a good option. They will eat isopods, some of the larger isopod species, that kind of thing. But don't overfeed them because people tend to overfeed them, and then they'll go on hunger strikes for months. Also, in the winter, they will often try to brumate, and allow them to do that if they wish to, and don't get worried about it and dig them up. They'll often be underground for months and then come up and they're perfectly fine. So just make sure that the substrate doesn't dry out, doesn't collapse on them, and they'll generally do pretty well. They'll tend to molt when they are underground. That is for Mastigoproctus giganteus, as I said. And that's pretty much the same for the Mastigoproctus species that live in the United States. There are several species now. They split Mastigoproctus genus into various species. So there you go. And although your question, Wendy, about the Senegalese stag beetle care sounds like an awesome question, but I have never kept it, so I can't really comment on that. And Ashley Niebel also has a question. So she's saying, is ashwood bark safe for whips, tailless whip scorpions? I would say, as far as I know, it is, but I'm not entirely certain about it. But I would be more concerned of whether that tree has been treated with pesticides or not. If you know it hasn't, and the wood has had a chance to dry out thoroughly, I think I would consider it pretty safe. 503 Menagerie. Oh, you just barely got permission to keep tarantulas? That's awesome. That is so awesome. I think if I sent my wife pictures of really pretty tarantulas, she'd get uncomfortable. She wouldn't get mad, but she'd be uncomfortable. And Mantis God, you have a jumping spider, but that's the current line. My wife is okay with jumping spiders, totally okay with those. So, okay, I'm seeing in the chat that I'm getting quieter. So I'm just going to throw this out there. How am I sounding now? Please let me know. I'm just adjusting my mic and wondering if I need to switch out the batteries. I did bring a backup set of batteries. So how am I doing right now, everybody? Just chime in on the sound. Do I need to switch those batteries in? The fresh ones? Or not? Okay, Wendy's saying it's coming in fine. Anybody else? My mic? Low but not too low. Okay. Still sounding good. So most of you are saying that the audio is okay. If any of you are still having issues with the audio, let me know, because I can switch out the batteries. It'll only take like a minute, and I can... okay. All right, everybody. A few of you are saying the audio is not great, so I'm going to switch out the batteries. And now you can probably hear me, but it probably sounds awful for a minute, and that's okay, because I'm just making an adjustment here. So let me do that very quickly with the audio. Putting in the new batteries. Hopefully this does the job. Okay, now I'm switching in. Okay, how's this? How's my audio coming in? Is that better? This is with the new batteries. Okay, good. It was just the batteries. The apparently the battery status on this is not very dependable. It can say that the batteries look full, but they're not. So that's good to know. I'm just going to be switching out the batteries more often, I guess. And Mo, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you just enjoy watching the channel. I enjoy doing this. It's been great to have guests on the live stream. I've really, really enjoyed that. And I also enjoy it when we have a chance to do this and just kind of chat together. So I'm going to move this lady and we're going to take a look at the Pseudoscorpion, shall we? Put her down over here. And I've been working on my shelf over here. And I want to see if we can see Pseudoscorpions. Let's look at this. This is the fairly new tray I set up in August. My original one I got in April of last year. And I have since set up an enclosure. I set up this enclosure for Pseudoscorpions. Just kind of checking to see if I can dig one up on the surface. You can always do that. But just checking. The other day I lifted up the lid and there was a Pseudoscorpion on the lid when I went to feed them some fruit flies. And it actually fell on the table. Didn't hurt it at all. They don't weigh enough for that to be a problem, but It was kind of on the ground. So I'm looking just to see if I can find a Pseudoscorpion I can show you, because they're fun to see. Don't see any at the surface there. What about in this enclosure? This is the original culture. So just checking to see if I can dredge any up at the surface. You never know what you're going to get with the Pseudoscorpions and how close they're going to be to the surface. So, and I don't want to hurt them. I have to dig fairly deliberately without pushing too hard or anything. You don't want to damage them. Oh, I got one. If I can get it out. Dang it. Almost had it. But it's digging down into the lower reaches, and then I lost it. That's no fun. Okay. Well, I apologize. That was kind of a letdown because I wasn't able to show you what I wanted to show you. The Pseudoscorpion. I'm going to water this enclosure now. It's a little bit dry. They can do pretty well with it fairly dry, but I don't want it to get too dry. It's not good news. They're more resistant to drying than, say, isopods are, but everybody's got their limits, right? Even Pseudoscorpions. So, I'm afraid that didn't work. But it looks like we got a super chat. That's from Liam. Thank you. That is awesome. Let's take a look at something else. I'm apologizing for the lack of excitement going on in the enclosure there. So I'm going to show you something else. A little bit of dust there. I'm going to show you this enclosure here. This is, let's see if we can see her or him. I don't know if this is a male or a female. I just gave this Scolopendida polymorpha a little treat of bug jelly. Wasn't going to eat the whole thing, obviously. That was left over from my beetles. Let's see if it's around. There's the cleanup crew in there, and also the snacks. It eats isopods sometimes. It looks like it is hiding. Sometimes you can see it along the side. There it is. You can see its terminal legs, which are the legs at the end of the body, not used for walking. They're used as antennal mimics and also to grab predators when they are attacked. So that's what's going on right there. Hey, Moose Greebles, hello. Theropod Hunter, what would you say is the most underrated arachnid? You know, that's a great question. There are so many that are underrated. I'm going to say, as far as ones that I have kept, arachnids that I have kept, maybe Pseudoscorpions, seriously. They're really fun, and some of them are pretty easy to keep. And I would say in terms of ones that I haven't kept, here's a Pseudoscorpion you can check out for a minute by Shapes in Nature. I got these recently. Love these stickers. Actually, I received them, not purchased, but received them from Bugs in Cyberspace. Jesse works for Bugs in Cyberspace, but he also has his website, Shapes in Nature. And that's where they came from. And let's see. So, Avamaton, is that how you say your name? I'm going to look at some isopods now. We're going to look at some isopods. We're going to put some isopods on the screen. Just a second. I realized that this setup really needs to be split. The density of the culture is enough that I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. They're fine, but they'll be better if I switch them over. So, that's awesome, Heather. So you haven't noticed the Nazatum was nibbling on any plants, huh? That's pretty cool. I'm glad it did well and didn't hurt the plants. There's Lacey J. Awesome. Welcome. So Crested Garden's longest running isopod culture. Let me think. I got my original isopods. It's a tie, I think, between my Spanish orange, or I guess they don't call them Spanish orange anymore. They did when I got them. They usually just call them Porcelius Gaber orange, and my dwarf whites, because I got them at the same time, and I got them back in, when was that? 2013 or something like that? And so that's how long I've had them. That's how long they've been running. Let's see. So yeah, my wife was not super excited about centipedes, but they're not tarantulas and they're not medically significant, the kinds I have anyway. So Yingzhu, if I'm saying your name right, or anywhere close to right, hopefully. Any Cubaris recent? The most recent Cubaris I got were Cubaris marina glacier, and Cubaris marina papaya. I did an unboxing about those a little bit, fairly recently. I do have some millipedes too. I have some ivory millipedes, some Spirostreptus species 1. We could check those out if anybody's interested in those. What I would like to do right now, I'm going to show you a little bit what I'm going to do with these guys. These need to be split. This culture, like I was saying, needs to be split. And I'm just going to show you real quick how I do that. The speed split. And so it's going to take a second to adjust my camera on the tripod. Apologize for the squeaky noises and the jiggling. But you got to do what you got to do. So there we go. Okay, well, Javi, I'm happy to do the corn snake, and we will do the corn snake. We will do corn snake and millipedes. Let's do them both, huh? So I'm going to put some substrate in here real quick. This is mostly organic compost. You can see there's some eggshell in there as well. You put a little bit more in. And this is my base substrate. I do have some eggshell, some pulverized eggshell that I just pulverized in my little mortar and pestle here. Add a little bit more of this. The isopods will nibble on that some, but it is also a good way to maintain the pH. It's a pH buffer, so if the substrate starts to get too acidic, that can help prevent that from getting out of hand. Something like that. And yeah, and I don't blame those of you who are saying about centipedes. You know, if it's not something you like, totally get that. Can totally respect it. Centipedes don't happen to give me the creeps, but they do give people the creeps, and that's cool. It's not a problem. You know, everybody's got something. And for some of us, it's something with a lot of legs. There's some leaf litter in there, and toast in there. And now, I'm going to take one of these pieces of cork bark. I'm just going to plop it down in here and dig up some of this lovely substrate in here that's full of nice microorganisms. That's going to help this colony get real going. It's also going to have some isopods in it. Quite a few isopods in it. And that's going to help jumpstart this culture. So this is how I like to do it. If I have to take substrate out of a culture and refresh it, my favorite way to do it is simply to split a culture and put new substrate in both and old substrate in both and get it going. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to put more leaves in here, obviously. I'm going to take a little bit of the moss from the other setup, put it in here. I'll also put some fresh moss in there, probably do that off camera just for timing's sake, but dump a whole lot more leaf litter in here. And put some egg crate in there for hides. I'm going to put some more substrate in the other enclosure so it's fresh. And top it off with a little bit more of the calcium eggshell. And some more leaf litter. Now everybody's happy. And I've got two cultures going with plenty of happy isopods. And let's see. Epiphyte. Are there any isopods that are more arboreal? Some are more arboreal than others, yes. Porcellio flavomarginatus has some arboreal tendencies. For sure. They climb a little bit more than some of the others. Okay, I'm going to put these away. We're going to look at some corn snake and we're going to look at some millipedes. What do you say? That's what everybody wanted to do, I think. So let's do it. Oh, I got dirt all over there. Sorry, that looks kind of ugly now. But I am grabbing the corn snake as I speak. I can't possibly hungry ate very recently. Hopefully he, don't know really actually on this one. Here is my corn snake. Take a look. She wants to climb around on the shelf. Wow. Pretty excited about that. There we go. Really excited about the shelf. Probably will come down in a minute. It tends to come down pretty quickly. It's shed about a week or two ago. And yeah, she is, or he, we don't know. Mr. Skeletal is the name of the snake. Very pretty snake. Love it. That snake is actually my son's snake, and we've had snakes since, how long has it been? It's been 5 years almost. I think it's coming on 5 years, maybe. Maybe it's 4.5-ish. Definitely a gorgeous snake. Hypomelanistic corn snake. Cuttings in Netherlands. Reptile shop 20 years ago with reptiles more than 30 years in total. Moose greebles, freshwater isopods? Sure are. Yes. They actually... I'm not sure exactly. I think if I remember correctly, there are about 100 species in the U.S. that are known of. And I could be wrong about that. That's kind of trying to remember. And... okay, yeah, so there's a few out there. The first kind of isopod I actually kept was some freshwater isopods I collected in an irrigation canal near my house when I was like 13 years old. And put them in my aquarium, which I was cycling at the time, and they produced babies for me. So this is a fairly decently sized corn. I mean, there are bigger ones out there, but there are also many smaller ones out there. I'd say this is on the slightly large side of average, so yeah, a little bit big. Over 500 grams last time I weighed this snake. So Theropod Hunter, I love my garter snakes. I love milk snakes too. But there's really not very many snakes I don't love, to be honest, so there you go. But, oh, don't go that way. I'm going to have to make a few adjustments. Trying to crawl off the table here. Because as you were observing, kind of a long snake, so head is a good distance from the tail. I wish I could ship isopods to Europe, but I cannot. If I were able to do that, I totally would. Oh, you're going to push that right off the... Please don't do that. That would be bad. Okay, I'm going to take this snake and put him back. I wish I knew which one it was. The thing is, you can get a good idea by counting the subcaudal ventral scales, and there's a range that's most likely to be male and most likely to be female. This snake is right solidly smack in the middle, and I'm not breeding the corn snake, so it's not really of any consequence to me whether it's male or female, but it's just a little bit difficult to tell. Let's do some millipedes, shall we? Okay. How many millipede species do I have? I have 4 currently, so let's take a look at some of them. This one is Hiltonius pulchris. There's a specimen right there. Should we get a little bit of a zoom in on that? This is Hiltonius pulchris. This is a species native to southwestern U.S., not like Arizona or anything. I don't think they have them in Arizona, more like Southern California. Someone who, I believe, someone who watches the channel was rescuing some adults off the sidewalk because apparently they appear en masse in certain seasons and tend to get stepped on. So she rescued some, a biologist, and sent to me some adults, and I got babies. And I think this might be the 3rd generation, the one you're looking at right now. They tend to be pretty shy. They don't get gigantic. I think they end up about the size of an ivory millipede, maybe a little stockier and a little shorter, but about the size of an ivory millipede-ish. And they tend to be pretty shy, not terribly surface active, although once in a while you'll find one on the surface like this during the day. But they're breeding well for me, and I like the color. And our vomiton, actually, we do have more likes than that. I'd appreciate some more. That's perfect, but there's 34 likes so far on my end, at least. So springtails are doing really well in this culture. So Tim, I think this was in San Diego, and they just showed up right in the city, like on a campus, a university campus, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. So this is Hiltonius pulchris. The substrate here, you can see on this end it's a little bit older. It's mostly Millipede frass. I replaced it recently on the other side, and this is Permian exotics mix, black mix for isopods and millipedes, and a major component of it is flake soil. So that should be good stuff. Oh, no problem, Arvo Montana. I appreciate the support. You're just trying to give me some more likes, which is awesome. So no problem. I'm just letting you know that it's not as bad as it looks. We got 37 likes now, which is awesome. And here we go. We're going to look at some more millipedes. These are my bumblebees. Bumblebee millipedes I've kept for a long time, since I think 2015-ish. Here's some kinshi from Bugs in Cyberspace. You can see the springtails really like this stuff. Recently posted a video on that. The culture is doing really well in terms of springtails, and there are lots and lots of millipedes in here. So I'm just going to gently scoop a few off the surface. I don't want to dig too deep. It's generally not a good idea with millipedes to dig very deeply, because you can unearth molting millipedes, which is not good news. But these are constantly breeding. You can see there's a juvenile right there among the adults. I'm just trying to stay near the surface and not scoop anybody up that's, buried. But if I just like move some leaf litter or something, I'm likely to encounter some individuals, and we can take a look at them. There's a juvenile that's already colored up right there. Again, this enclosure, you can see the Permian exotic substrate on the right and the more spent substrate on the left that's starting to turn more into frass. So I try to replace that fairly often. These are probably one of the most gorgeous millipedes out there. They're just small, but their colors are fantastic. They're super easy to care for as long as you keep them warm enough. That's the main thing. And Heather Jensen definitely gets some bumblebees. I just have mine in a 6 quart, and they're breeding like crazy. They do find in a 6 quart a couple inches at least of substrate. Let's see. My biggest millipede is the Spirostreptus. We're going to look at those in a minute. Spirostreptus species 1. Do you have any mantids currently, or any plans to get some? Alejandro 1212. I have had millipedes. I've had millipedes, yes, but I've had mantids. I love mantids and want to get some more. The species that I've kept so far include the Chinese millipede, Tenedorea sinensis. I've had the Hierodula, the giant African. Why am I saying millipede? Mantis. Because I'm looking at millipedes, I guess. And let's see, what else? The orchid mantis. Kept that one as well. Those are the only species that come to mind right now, the 3 species that I've kept. I've kept a number of the Chinese mantis, but those are the ones that I've kept. Some of them I've raised from very young. I've even hatched an Utheca or 2. One Utheca that I hatched produced, I raised one of them all the way to adulthood. So, crested gardens, I don't keep roaches. I would if I could, but I can't. I don't know anyone who keeps green springtails specifically, Frank. Yeah, 503, the springtails are really going to town in here, aren't they? They love the kinshi from Bugs in Cyberspace. I actually need to mist that. It's a little dry. Where's my spray bottle? My kids are always taking the spray bottles into different rooms, and this is the room that needs it the most, and they're always going to other rooms. I can't really blame them. There's a lot of places that need spray bottles in the house. Let's see. So Arvamaton is probably our springtails, like some others are saying in there. There are plenty of gray springtails that do just fine in isopod enclosures and millipede enclosures and whatnot. Oh, I see what you're saying, Heather. Yeah, if you want to set them up in a nice display tank, you need a space for it. That totally makes sense. I got you. I'm going to put these bumblebees away, and I'm going to see if I can fit the ivory enclosure up there on that shelf. I think I can. I might need to make some camera adjustments. But since we're speaking of display enclosures, this is actually more of a display enclosure too, with my ivories in it. You can't see all of my ivories. I have about, I don't know, 12 of them in here or something. 12 or 13, something around that. I did find some green springtails not long ago on my Instagram channel in January outside on top of water. They were pretty cool. And 503, yeah, that's the cool thing. Right now in the enclosure on the surface, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6, so 7. So approximately half of the millipedes in here are on the surface, just in the daytime. And I'm not sure if Peter has any purple ivories in stock right now or not. Good question. I know he has had them in the past, but very good question. They're a cool one. I think he's got breeding stock of the purple ones. You know, I got to visit his bug room when I was down there in Arizona. Oh, there's another one under the thing. I don't think I was seeing that one. It looks like a fairly largish female there under the wood. And I didn't get enough time in his bug room, but it was really cool to be able to visit it. Oh, say Bradley checked and he's all out of the purples, huh? Yeah, I love Peter's site. He's always got some cool stuff. Always got some cool stuff going on. I think I got my original ivories from Peter, in fact. My original ivory millipedes from Peter. And they produced a couple of generations, if I remember correctly. I love them. I love how they're surface active. I love how it's easy to tell the males from the females. This one is quite obviously a male from the little saddle right there. It's got that segment of its body that's wider than the others. And Heather, I think you showed me a picture of your big old female ivory, didn't you? She got really big. One of the ones you got for me, so it descended to one of mine. That got really huge. Let me see. I'm going to check and see how much of the kinshi these guys have eaten. I think they did a pretty good job. There's a little piece of kinshi left. I think that's all that's left. So they ate most of the kinshi too. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, I didn't know if you could even see what I was doing on camera. Could you? That's the little piece of kinshi that's left. I put a much bigger chunk in there. Now it's sitting on the shell. So yeah, I've heard the ivories can get up to 5 inches or so, but I've probably had some that are close to 4. Somewhere around 4 for the females. Males never get that big that I've seen. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. Let's do the Pseudoscorpions. Species 1, my largest millipedes by far that I have now. I used to have the Mardonius, which are gigantic. One of the biggest, not the biggest in the hobby, but one of the biggest and most robust. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Morelia. Excellent. Thank you for the super chat and welcome. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you should definitely get some millipedes. They are awesome. There's some springtails munching on some bug jelly that I give these guys. They love the bug jelly. Here's a piece of butternut squash that they were eating. A pile of kinshi that I gave them that also needs to be moistened. I'm going to moisten that down so they can munch on that. When it dries out, it doesn't produce the spawn so much. So thank you for the super chat, Mr. and Mrs. Morelia, and thank you for joining. And Sheena, hello. And welcome back. I'm glad you were able to make this one. Let me move some millipedes around so you can see them. I'm going to lift this up and see if anybody's under there. Oh, yes. There's some under the piece of wood. And besides the springtails, let me know if you see any bonus species in this setup. Be pretty cool if somebody recognized them. Uh-oh. Something went wrong with my chat. I can't access my chat, folks. Oh, okay, now it's back. Took a second. So, Javi, I don't have any of the Narcissus right now. That's probably the American giant millipede you are referring to. Some of these, the millipede in the top left corner is more active than the ones that were under the log. But I think the ones under the log might be my biggest specimens, possibly. I'm hoping to get some babies from these pretty soon. Crested Gardens, how are my P.R. Nautis witches doing? Doing well. Haven't seen any babies yet, but I hope to see some soon. And Alex Brinker, millipede care is very similar to isopod care in many respects. I would say there are a couple of important differences. In many cases, they can live in the same conditions, but millipedes tend to need wood more than isopods do. Isopods generally benefit from rotting wood, decaying wood, but millipedes more like require it. It's more important for the millipedes than it is for the isopods in most cases, and that varies somewhat from species to species, but that tends to be the case. And I will also say that millipedes tend to need deeper substrate. So the substrate needs to be richer in decaying wood, and it also needs to be deeper in general for millipedes. You kind of want millipedes to have substrate about as deep as their body, or maybe even deeper. And isopods, the substrate's generally quite a bit deeper than their body anyway. And call me Jeff. Hello, welcome. Forbidden cinnamon rolls, I love it. Oh, we got a sticker from BR. It doesn't say whose it's from, but it says BR, so thank you. That's awesome. And Colony and Culture, hey, good point. Good point. Let's do some millipede trading, just to give you some perspective on where my my bumblebee millipede line comes from. 2 different places. I collected some in Florida in 2015-ish, and then I got some from Mike's House of 1,000 Legs a year or 2 later, and that's where my stock comes from. And maybe, yeah, if I give you enough bumblebees, maybe you could give me a couple of Narcissus and I could get a colony going too. And Arva Matan, that's right. Most isopods love the wood, even though they don't need it quite as much as the millipedes do. In general, we're speaking here. So Dynasty's Grantai, I don't have that species, but I think they're fantastic. I'm going to move this millipede right over here. You can get a more active one going. Did we get a... We got a Bradley. Is that your donation? That's awesome. It's now saying $50. I missed that. It just... On my screen, for some reason, it doesn't say how much it is, but then up at the top it does. So Bradley, thank you so much. That is awesome. Really appreciate that. Something went crazy. Well, you went crazy with your donation, but I love it. That's great. I really appreciate that. Wow, that really helps. That's awesome. J-Man to you. Have you ever heard of? I have heard of Alentis. Never sure how to pronounce that name, but I have heard of it. I believe. Is it Smugbug? I think she has an orange form of that species. Okay, Colony and Culture. Yeah, let's set it up. If I remember, you're pretty close to my location, so. And Random T, hello. What you got here? Better late than never, right? Does anybody see this? What's going on right here? Just wanted to see if anybody noticed that. Maybe I can focus in on that. Oh, and we got a super chat from Javi Strange Pets as well. Excellent. I appreciate everybody's generosity this evening. It is awesome. This really helps things. Helps me do a lot. Whether it's through Patreon, whether it's through super chats, whatever it is, really helps a lot. So I appreciate it, everybody. It's fantastic to see the support. I love this community. So Random T, you spotted it. Yep, there's a rubber ducky in there. After talking to Kyle Candelian of Roach Crossing. I generally don't keep isopods with millipedes, but he was saying how much success he's had. There's another one right there, another rubber ducky right there. Oh, it's probably off the screen there. There's another one. I wanted to see if I could get him to do well together, and I think I can with these particular species, so I'm going to try it. So, Theropod Hunter, Spirostrepta, the millipedes generally active. Yours have been under the substrate since they arrived. They tend to molt, mass molt, so they all molt kind of at the same time sometimes, and you don't see them for a long time. And that happens with these, especially. I got all these when they were quite young, quite small, and that happened. But as they get to be older, I see them more on the surface. So hopefully that's true of your species too. This is a different species than yours, but hopefully that's what I see. Hopefully that's what you see. Ooh, we got another super chat from Mo. Or More. I'm not sure how you say that, but some Canadian $5. That is awesome. I really appreciate it. You guys are just incredible. Everybody on the stream has just been fantastic. So what can I say about this community except I wish all communities were as cool as this one. We did get a super chat spike. So Heather, you weren't able to get the Q-Bars Amber because your landlord is not excited about what you have now? 2 cats, a toad, existing pods and pea doesn't sound too bad to me. So I wish I were your landlord. I would let you have whatever you wanted. That's what I have to say. Too bad your landlord doesn't listen to this, huh? Not that I could probably convince anybody, but there's this other millipede sitting over here that looks like it's looking for something, so I'm just going to move it right over there. There we go. And Random T, part of the Domation party. This is awesome. This might be the record live stream for Super Chats now. That is so cool. And Mantis God, yes. Yes, I wish we had all had this community earlier. I started keeping things when the hobby was not as connected as it is now with all the different sorts of social media we have now. And it was hard to find people who understood. I mean, my family was very understanding, but beyond that, it was hard to find people who understood. And now it's nice to find people like you all. So, oh, we're getting close to the end here. I want to make sure I answered all the Patreon questions, at least to the best of my ability. Just checking here and see if there's anything else there. So far, I think we got them all. Excellent. Dan Berard. Heard the green isopod requires a specific food source from the native habitat and they don't survive in captivity. It's the same species you're mentioning. That does sound like it could be a pill millipede. And theropod, yeah, even some of the other pet communities can be pretty verbally hostile too. And that's kind of what I love about the invert hobby. And many of the people in the reptile and amphibian hobby are also very, very friendly and welcoming. And depending on which ones you meet, it can change. So, does anybody, oh, I was going to get Ruby out, but Ruby is in blue. Ruby is my garter snake, my large female garter snake. I was going to get her out, but I'm not going to now because she is totally in blue. But maybe I can get something else out. I'm looking, Does anybody want to see my Armadillidium gestroi zingers as we're finishing up here? Oh! Arvamaton. I'm not sure if I'm saying your name correctly, but I appreciate the super chat. That is awesome. That is so cool. We've definitely passed the record, everybody, for super chats officially in this stream. Now, I want to see if we can see some of my baby zingers. So Armadillidium gestroi zinger, an absolutely fabulous species there. They seem to be a azanthic species, or azanthic morph of Armadillidium gestroi. So they're totally gorgeous. They look almost like giant zebras. Oh, look at that, the bug hub. We got another super chat. We're not really far away from $100. We are so close. That's fantastic. Thank you, the bug hub. So cool. Okay, so Cuttings in Netherlands, it actually is an isopod. That is fantastic. Oh, there's Ian Alicia too. Okay, so Arva, that works. Arva, I can call you that. That sounds pretty reasonable for me to pronounce. I think I can handle that one. Let's see if we can see any of the babies. I'm so excited for baby singers, and I posted some on Instagram a day or two ago. I don't know if we... Oh, I see one right there. Oh, it's probably not on camera, darn it. Let's see if you can see him. You can... Oh, there's one right in the middle of the screen, trying to blend in with the springtails. That is a baby zinger there. Can you see it? Sorry, that jiggled too much. It can be hard and challenging not to jiggle while you're juggling so many things. But yeah, thank you, the Bug Hub. That is so cool. Oh, we got another one. This one is from Wendy Hickson. Thank you so much. A keep it up sticker. I will. Everybody's been so helpful. It makes it a lot more feasible for me to do so. That is awesome. And Michael Hare, been watching for a while and feel that I should contribute to such an awesome channel. Well, I appreciate that so much, Michael. Sheena has joined in. Peer pressure. I'll take it. I will take it. That is pretty cool. Everybody's been so amazing. Oh, we got another one. Oh, we got another one. Wow. You guys are making me giggle. This is awesome. Thank you, everybody. Looks like Bradley just popped in again, and for some reason it's not giving me the amount. I'm trying to see if I can read it what it says. Whoa, but it's another super chat, and it looks like it's a big one. That is amazing. And 503 Menagerie. Okay with being a follower on this one. Thank you, Bradley. Thank you, 503. That is so cool. Whoa, we are way past the $100 point. That is fantastic. I really appreciate it. I got to do something special for you all. You know, one thing I really wanted to do for the 50,000 subscribers was do a complete isopod tour, and I just need the time. I need the time to be able to do that, and that's one thing I want to do. But I think I'm going to have to do some kind of giveaway. Maybe a t-shirt giveaway with my new design, something like that. Ooh, Colony and Culture just did a super chat as well about the baby zingers. This is awesome. Wow. Well, some records have definitely been set, everybody. This is unprecedented. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that tour too, and I'm going to separate it into different pieces. I'm going to have to, because I don't think anybody will sit through an entire tour of all my isopods in one go. But maybe 3 videos. Maybe one for Armadillidium, one for Armadillidium, one for Porcelium, and one for everything else. So that would be pretty cool. Oh, another super chat from Theropod Hunter from my Ubaris fund. That's awesome. Wow. So who would be up for the isopod tour? Who would prefer? Tell me if you prefer the 3 video series, or you'd prefer the just one all in one go. So tell me what you think. That before, that is fantastic. But here is it appears to be, she's not dead. She was running around a little while ago, so I don't think she's dead, and they do bask like that, lying on their sides looking dead. This is a ironclad beetle. There's a blue death fanning beetle over there, and there's a Eleotis obscurus. No, that's one of my blue death fainters. There was an Eleotis obscurus back there too. I think she's behind stuff. Yep, right in the middle of the screen behind some choya wood and stuff. Too many donations right in the middle of the screen behind some choya wood and stuff. Too many donations broke the camera. Sorry we lost everything, everybody. But Lacey J added a super chat, and Harley Bailey, I can see, added one. Arva added one. Another super chat. Harley says, what's the average time between molts for a baby whip spider? I've had my whipling Phrynis species since mid-November. It's been dime size since arrival. I've kept it with standard care. It gets no bigger. I haven't worked with Phrynis species, but that does seem to me a little bit long for a whip spider. I feel like mine Mine are diamond diadema, so they're a little bit different. You know, they're going to be different in some respects, but I feel like that's a little bit long for a whip spider if it's a very small juvenile. Of course, some of the Phrynis species don't get as big as the diamond diadema, so good question. I would reach out. Do you know which species it is? You might want to reach out to Kyle Candillion. He keeps some Phrynis, or Peter at Bugs in Cyberspace keeps Phrynis marginae maculatus, or is it marginae maculata? He keeps those. So they may be some to check with. So, and Lacey J, you're definitely a cool kid. And let's see. I think we're all back. Is everybody... So spaghetti legs, I think you do need a permit to sell Cubaris in the U.S. I don't have one yet, but I think Cubaris marina, you can get a permit to sell that, and some of the others are considered by APHIS to be variants of Cubaris marina, even though that doesn't seem to make a lot of taxonomic sense, but I think that's what's going on. So yes, so Harley, I would reach out to Bugs in Cyberspace and see if he has some good information for you there, because he has a lot of experience with that species, and I think Kyle Candillion at Roach Crossing does too. So the huge beetle back there that was just crawling around and is now departed is Iliotes obscurus, I think. I think that's one of the ones that Bugs in Cyberspace sent me. So that is, it was a beautiful one. I took this setup to a reptile expo recently and had these beetles and some velvet ants crawling around, and it was awesome. And a lot of the beetles and velvet ants were sent to me by Peter and Jesse at Bugs in Cyberspace. So yeah, I think this is actually a different velvet ant, so I hope that's not a dead one, because I see the one crawling around. It might be one basking. I hope it's not a dead one. And that is a great question, cuttings NL. I'm not sure. Marulinella is something I haven't worked with a lot, so can't really say. But I'm afraid we're coming up on our ending time here. This has been a fabulous live stream for me. I hope it's been fun for you as well. I really appreciate all the support. I'm overwhelmed by it. And I give you all a big cyber hug for being such an awesome community. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. I've got a cool video coming up. I think my next video is going to be a care guide for isopods. And then the next one I've got lined up is an unboxing. So I'm going to answer a couple more questions. Here we go. Crested Gardens, do you breed mealworms? I do. I have a video about how I breed them, and I haven't changed it a whole lot since then, a little bit, but it works really well. And yeah, give it a go. Just check out Aquarimax breeding mealworms the easy way, I think is what you'd find. And Frank the Tank, thank you for posting that. Wally has made an excellent video about permits, so check that link out. And all right, it's been great, everybody. I really appreciate all of your support. For a second again, really appreciate your support, and I hope you all have an excellent week. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I will see you on Friday.